Carol here. Welcome to my craft room tonight. We're going to be using this Sheena stencil, quite a few stencils, to do a vintage 8x6 card. And I'm going to show you how I love to do textured stenciling. It gives you an effect that you could actually frame a card, like frame it. It would look like a painting, and all you did was use stencils. So this one has quite a bit of open space, which I really love, and we're going to get some textures even though we have this space of flat surface. So the Tim Holtz inks are wonderful for this. I am grabbing this green. I'm sticking with the one green, and because I'm using so many, I can't remember all the colors, but I'm doing a twisting motion so that I can get different texture, so that it looks like I have a mid-tone and light tone in this tree. See how it looks like it's all bunched up? And all that is by turning your applicator. And now I grabbed another stencil because I want to add leaves and branches onto this tree because I have that open space. And when I just keep looking at it just to see where to lay these beautiful branches. And I'm using this brown and I'm giving it all different types of pressure when I'm pressing down with the applicator. And I'm going to move up here. I have a different, I have two brown tones going there, and one dark and one light. A vintage photo, and I think the other one, well, I can't tell you for sure what that was, but two different brown tones. And as you can see all the branches coming out, and it looks like it is, that you wouldn't be able to tell that that was an open stencil. So now I'm taking brown to make the trunk, and I'm moving the trunk up and across so that you have some depth at the bottom of the tree. And here we have grass coming out there. And then it goes up almost into a water scene where you have all of that little bits of wheat or something that's sprigging up out of that bit of foliage there. And I wanted to add about 4 different colors. And I want to show you when I'm adding a lot of pressure on the bottom, and this is why I'm going slower on this video. I'm pressing down into the bottom and flicking it up so that I'm not getting a lot of color on the way up. And that way you get a mid-tone and a light tone. Now here, what I like to do with stencils like this where I have a lot of stencil space is I like to add the color onto the actual acetate part of it. And then I'll grab a sponge and move all of that into the hole that's provided with the stencils. Another thing you can use are these makeup applicators. This way, if you use these, you can press right in that hole and the stencil design and get some really dark images. So now I'm going back to the trees and I'm taking the same stencil and I'm adding stencil paste. And here I'm going to get a lot of texture for those branches and leaves right there. It doesn't look like much now, but when we color it in, it is going to be awesome. And we're going to use nothing but stencils and inks. And I want to enter this into a challenge over on Catherine Pooler's Stamp Nation site, and she's doing stenciling with inks, and that's what I'm going to do here. So I've added texture to the birds. All of the birds got some texture paste. And now I've taken a different sponge, a triangle sponge, and I'm going to add one of these great big, I can't even think of what you call these little insects there, little butterfly things. A dragonfly, that's what it is. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm laying a base underneath the space that was left open that didn't have stenciling. And I want to add a sky, and I want the sky to have a lot of texture. I don't want it to be smoothed out across. So in order to do that, I have to use this type of sponge with 3 different blues, and it looks like you're making a mess because this is the undertone of the stenciling that we are going to do on top of it. So add the dark underneath before you add your stencil on top if you're going to use lighter colors, and you will get a beautiful effect. Because right here, if you're looking at this, I think it looks like a hot mess. You can't figure out one thing from another. But as we add stencil on top of stencil on top of stencil, you will see the beauty come out in this 8x6 image. So I'm adding crackle paste to the bottom now. I added the undertone color that I wanted. So you know, when I do my work, most of the time you see me on vintage cards, I always add a color undertone so that if I have to file it off or I am going to do any type of removal, I'm going to have color under there. So we remove it and look at that thick awesomeness that's there. And this is crackle paste. We are going to heat set it, and I'm going to show you close up how that turns out, because these bits of trees and foliage, and it's kind of like on a riverbank, you get all of those reefs. I'm using this crackle paste, and it will give you a beautiful textured effect so that it does not look flat. I don't want that foliage to look flat there. So once again, we're going to get texture, and I'm going to move in on it so you can see how beautiful it is. And if you colored your paste right here, the crackle paste, you would get beautiful undertones with this. But right now I left it white, and see, it has those little wee, I can't think of those wreaths, the names of those. But anywho, we're going to move along to the bottom, and I'm grabbing some grass. I want to have different textures on the bottom. So I'm direct to the acetate, and see how I grab my sponge? I am taking the ink off the acetate folder there, and I'm moving it into the design, and that's what you get. And then I took the side of my little mini and I ran it down to make more little reefs. I know that's not what you call them, but they're like those little sprigs that come up out of water. And I used the side of my stamp and just would drag it down so I got a line. And now I want to do 3D imagery. To do that, you add your, see how I'm working it off of the stencil? Add direct onto the stencil your ink, and then move the ink with the sponge into your design, and it is beautiful that way. So I've added all the foliage that I wanted, and now I want to work in the center. I have everything on the bottom. I have texture in my trees. My birds have all texture, and now I'm going to add larger leaves. And see how I added that direct to the plastic there? And then I grabbed a sponge, and I'm going to sponge it right into the stencil. Just beautiful. Then I will grab a lighter color, move my stencil over just a bit so that I can get a shadow. Now here I'm running Squeezed Lemonade and the dark blue. This is Squeezed Lemonade. I am going right to left because I wanted the sun to be in the top right hand coming down. I'll show you how we're going to do that and how it's going to beat right through the sky. Now here's where the beauty of vintage comes in. I'm taking this new applicator by Tim Holtz. It is that sea foam. It's an actual foam, and it has holes in it, and you only get texture in certain spots when you pounce it. And see how we have these beautiful, beautiful navy blue in the sky to represent a sky, but you're going to have stenciling. And it just shows through wonderfully. And on a stencil like this, which is amazing. You turn it any way you want, get the flowers anywhere you want. So here's that applicator, that new applicator by Tim Holtz. I love it. It washes up with soap and water beautifully, and you just pounce. That's what I'm doing over top of the stencil, and I'm using 3 different blues, the new ones that the real dark navy, and there's 3 different blues there, and I think it came out really pretty. And this is stenciling vintage style. You have to remember that. And now I'm sweeping with that. There we go. I'm showing you a close up. It's so pretty here. And I wanted to do a clock. I wanted this stencil card, this creation of mine, to represent 2016 and time. I want to use my time wisely. And I grabbed some of this beautiful, thick, gold stenciling medium, and it is beautiful. And it's really thick, so you've got to push it right down into that stencil. And this for me is going to represent using my time wisely. And it's really pretty. I'm going to add alcohol inks. The clock gold handles will have red tinge, and there'll be blue going around all the numbers. And I'm adding 2016, but you're going to have to search for them. I put them all over. You know those games you used to have to search, word games? Well, that's what I did. I did a 2000, a 0, 1, and a 6 all the way around my page. So now I'm taking a 2-inch sponge, and I'm sponging another color, blue, and I'm pressing quite heavy on here because I want the edges to be dark so that your eye, I'm patting it now, I want your eye to go in on the sky part, and you will see why later on. And this is why the video is a little lengthy, but it's because I kept it in slow motion. I only did it 1 speed up so we could do it together. And I got out another stencil. So we're on our 4th stencil here. And here I wanted to break up the flowers, and I want it to look like sunshine. I wanted those rays. I'm going to have rays coming down, and you will see that in a minute. And the blue represents the sky, and this pattern to me is like the sun. When you add different styles of stencils, it can represent so many things. Like right here, to me, it represents the sun shining through the sky. And in the sky, you need to have stars. And I'm going to use my Cosmic Shimmer Spray, or Cosmic Shimmer Paste, excuse me. And I'm going to make 3 red hearts. We need to have some color pop out. We've got blues and greens and yellows, but I think using red will work very well. And I did 3 of them, 1 up in the clock and right the 2 that are right here. And I think it's coming together nicely. And there you see little Eva's flowers that I added there. And now I'm grabbing my white gel pen, and I'm doing some stitching, faux stitching, and going around some of the flowers so that they stand out and they have their own presence on this stenciling card. And well, we're finishing up our flowers up here. We're putting some faux stitching around them and a little bit of white on that one bird, so he stands out by the green one. And this white gel pen is working perfectly to use the faux stitching. And we are adding some little patterns. And isn't it something how you can take 5 or 6 different folders, like stencils, excuse me, and make such beautiful patterns, but yet they separate. You know, you have patterns that represent the sky and patterns for the trees. You get texture by adding more stencils on top of more stencils. You can get all kinds of wonderfulness this on a card by just adding stencils on top of one another and adding color. I just love it. I can't wait to enter this one into our third challenge, excuse me. And it is on stencils with inks, and that's what I've used today. And we will see what happens. Here I'm grabbing the Dreamweaver stenciling paste in gold. Isn't it pretty? And I'm taking my finger and I'm going in all the cracked crevices of this foliage at the bottom. And when we get finished, you'll see why I added that as another undertone. And what's beautiful about adding texture paste here, especially in the trees, I just grabbed some Stampin' Up! Markers, 2 shades of green, and I'm going over all of the branches and the little leaves because it is standing out with such texture now. Just adding that deep color looks nice. I added it to the birds, and now I'm going to add it to the foliage at the bottom here. I'm going to give them their own little twigs and leaves, and it's going to get inside those little cracked pieces and really give us some vintage beautiful texture. And see on the birds there, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I added white around all of the edges so that it looked like they were in flight, and it gave just the, yeah, see how you can see it on this slide? It looks very three-dimensional. I think it looks very pretty like that. And the touch of red, I loved that addition, and I'm just giving you a close-up. And when we added that gold sparkle, I put red on the hands of the clock, and I put 2 blues on the other. Look at that, isn't it gorgeous? Oh. And see the sparkle in the birds? If you turn the birds one way, they look colored. If you turn it the other way, they look like they have sparkled feathers. It's beautiful. So now let's move along, and we are going to design the card. To design this card, I'm using 140-pound cardstock white. I am using textured green. I'm using basil red cardstock, which is about 100 pound, and I am using a light green Stampin' Up!, which is about an 85-pound cardstock. So you are looking at a lot of weight, and that means I love my card because I love my cards to be weighty. Yes, so I've added my double-sided souquin tape, and we're going to set it on the white base, and it's going to stick down there. And then I'm going to add some liquid glue so that I have the opportunity to move this because I want it to be absolutely perfect. And I couldn't get that if my tape, once that goes down, it goes down. So here I was able to maneuver it. And if you're working with a good poundage of paper and you're working with glue and it seeps out, use a baby wipe to get it off. It'll dry without any spots, water spots. So that's just a little tidbit there. And see how thick that cardstock is? I have to really push that Teflon bone folder in. And I'm making the backside, like the inside of the card now. Now, as you can see, I took my scissors and I went all the way around the white 140-pound cardstock, and I made it so that it had a distressed edge. I really wanted that, and I kept it's going to open sideways. So right now I want to add my dollar store foam. I wanted to give the picture a lift, but I didn't want it to be too raised, and I thought this foam would be just perfect. I buy it at the dollar store. One side, as you can see, peels back, and the other side you just add tape to it, and you have yourself a perfect layer. And what's really nice about this, if you cut out letters with your fun foam and you heat set it with your heat tool, they will shrink down to really tiny little letters or numbers. So cute to work with. So here we have it laid out, and we have 5 layers right there. Yes, and nice and vintage, just the way I like it. And now we're going to work on the inside, the back side of my card. So I folded it 1 inch in, and I've taken the stencil. Now this portion is going to be crisp and clean, the same image as the front, but it isn't going to have any texture. It is going to be more of a modern look. And see those, how nice those, that bundle of tree is there with the leaves, how just pouncing it in circles gives you different textures. And it looks like you've used different colors when you've only used one. It looks like a poofy cloud. And now I'm using 3 different greens, and right here I want to, greens and blues actually for the foliage. And I know my arm's in the way, I apologize for that. And here I want to use black soot for the birds, and I guess I'm doing the trees there. And make sure you do the underneath. When you do a trunk, push that brown underneath the tree so that it looks like it has the weight of the leaves, has a trunk under it. You'll see when we move that away how nice that looks. It makes that tree look strong when you have that brown following out onto the leaves there. And now I'm making little birds, and I'm always taking the stencil and then moving it over a bit and adding a lighter color as a shadow. Now we're moving on to the sky, and I'm taking that 2-inch sponge and I'm sponging it all down in one direction. You don't want to go round and round. Just grab 2-inch sponge and we will work the sky in. So I wanted some grass on the bottom, so I went with some oranges and yellows and browns. And I am pushing down on this because I want the tips of them to be darker than the bottom. If I wanted the bottom to be darker than the top, I would pull up and press and have more weight on the bottom of my applicator. So here's the sun thing. Go sideways. When you put a sun in and in a corner, make your sky come down and then push your sky out with the yellow at a 45-degree angle, and it looks like it has the illusion of it going through clouds and through sky. See? And you think you'd go up and it looks like it's going up and down, but it's not. You did a 45-degree angle moving down, and I think it's so pretty. And the little wee leaves and branches at the bottom, they look forward and the other ones look farther back. So now this set only came with one large bird flying, so I added this brown one and I turned him over. I turned the stencil over so it looked like he was flying in a different direction. And now I'm going to add a little wee bird sitting up in the tree. Yes, you had to have one little bird in the tree. And now I'm going to add the 3D look by adding a lighter color on the bottom. And so we have 3 large birds and a few little ones floating around. And it's coming together quite nicely. I'm really satisfied with it. Now I'm going to take another shade of blue and I'm going up and down vertically so that we can get those sun rays to come through. And our clocks, yes, we have to add some time. One there, and we're going to do one with the Roman numerals over there. And it's coming together quite nicely for me. And now I'm going to use the Misty because I want the placement to be just right. And I took the stamp of approval set that has friends. I love that font, Catherine. It's just beautiful. She did a wonderful job putting this stamp of approval kit, and January's kit's coming out and I hear it's going to be awesome. Isn't that beautiful? I just love it. And I did it with one press, which was wonderful, using the black detailed ink. And now I'm using a Verve stamp that says, let me see here, there are no small miracles. So it says, friend, there are no small miracles. stencils in that new Candy Apple Distress ink. Isn't it gorgeous? I love the font. I love the way Catherine's font with friend, and then you have more of a script and a type. Isn't it pretty? And I heat set it. There's just a little wee thing there. And then I use clear embossing powder to heat set it so it had that nice shine. And I'm adding the inside now with blue because that's going to be my fold, right? There's the candied apple red. This by far is the prettiest red ever. Prettiest red ever. And see how that tree trunk holds those leaves up by just pushing up that brown with the stencil? This is the fur where my saying came from there in red. So now I fold it over. I'm going to take the back, use my Teflon bone folder to push it down because it is 140-pound cardstock. Take the tape off, add my front. So you're going to have a distressed, vintage, shabby chic front. Nothing but stenciling. Ink stenciling. It's for my challenge on, I'm going to enter on Catherine Pooler's site, like I said 100 times. And then the inside, this is the textured side. This is where we have some beautiful texture, and I used just stencil upon stencil upon stencil. And then we have the modern look where we have the sun rays coming in, and it's just a calm, the same style. It is just, same stencil, but totally different styles. And they both look just as pretty, don't you think? And I love the birds. If you turn this card, the sparkle birds, I'm trying to get up on that, yeah, they shine only in one direction. Look at that crackle paste. And then the hands on the clock are red and gold, and the numbers are blue and gold. And there you have the inside. I think that tree looks like a puffy cloud. I just love it. It makes me want to squeeze it. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, everybody at Stamp Nation, for putting together that challenge for using stencils. I have a lot of stencils, and I got them all out, and I'm going to do stencils all day tomorrow. I set that aside. All my housework is done, and I'm ready to go. So here you are. I'm going to show some pictures of the 3D dimension, how if you add white to the birds, how they look like they're flying up in the air. I wanted to just put time in there because time is of the essence and we need to use it wisely. And I used the stamp of approval, little wee flowers there on the bottom with Catherine's set, little Eva's flowers. I used your flowers, Eva. And I used Verve stamp set and all Tim Holtz inks and texture pastes. And I hope you were inspired. Thank you so much for joining me as always and for your wonderful comments. And we will see you on the next video. Go grab your stencils and have some fun.